This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com at the SWE Fury event in Greenville, Texas with former WWE superstar Charlie Haas. How are you doing today, sir?
Great, man. Thanks, Hannibal, for having me on. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this podcast, man. I'm looking forward to it.
The first thing I was just talking to you about off camera is I actually didn't recognize you when I first saw you because you have a different look now, shaved head, and you've dropped all this weight. You want to let the fans know why?
Yeah, I've been out of the business for about 2 years. Went through a divorce, which was really tough on me and the kids, but I'm back on my feet. I run a youth wrestling program out of Allen, Texas, Allen High School. They're going for their 13th straight state title. They're a top 10 team in the country. I run the youth program that pushes all those kids into that middle school and junior and high school program. So I'm in the room every day, wrestling, conditioning with kids from anywhere from kindergarten all the way up to high school to up in college kids that drop by. So I'm actually wrestling amateur and wrestling the way I did when I was in college. So in order for me to do that, I had to drop weight. So I'm about 215 right now. It's a different look, but it fits me. So I'm happy where I'm at.
And I understand your kids are wrestling.
That's true. I have 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys. My 10-year-old Russ, he's one of the kids nationals in both freestyle and Greco. He's one of the top kids in the country. And my youngest son, my 8-year-old Chuck, he is actually, man, he's won almost every tournament he's been in this year. And he's really turned on, man. You love it when you see these kids compete for so long. All of a sudden, that light turns green, man. It clicks in their head, and you can see them, and they start to be able to apply everything you're teaching them, and then they start adding their own flavor to it. So, yeah, it's really a blessing in order to give to them, and then to see your own kids excel in that sport.
Have you had any urge to actually get back in there for a tournament to see how you'd hold up since you're training every day again?
There's always the urge. I have to be a realist. Age is against me. So what I do is I just go and see how I do with the kids that come in from college or the kids that come in from the kids that are in high school, the top kids in the country. I see how they do and where I am at with them. I always go out to where my goal is not to get beat, not to get taken down. And if I can do that over a 6 to 7 minute match, then I think I've gotten one step better. Is there the urge? Yeah, there's a masters division that you can always go in to wrestle. But I was thinking about that. But since I got called back into SWE, I thought I was done with pro wrestling. But I guess once you say you're never out of it when you want to be out of it. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I always told my kids, they come and watch. They're my biggest critics. If I look like I've lost a step, if it doesn't look real, if it looks like that I'm favoring something, tell me, because that's the time to get away. But so far, they say everything's pretty good. And the crowd reaction I'm getting where they hate me, that means I'm doing pretty good. So,
yeah, how do you like being a heel?
I always love being a heel. I've been a heel since day one. When I was with me and my brother, the Haas brothers, I was a heel with Shelton and Kurt Angle. Everyone I've tagged with, we've always been heels. And then whenever I've gone over to Japan as an individual or over in Italy or Mexico, I've always been a heel. So, I think it is, if I ever had to turn babyface, that's where I'd be fish out of water. So,
were you recruited by WWE out of amateur wrestling?
When I got out of Seton Hall, I started the pro wrestling. WWE was, yes, they were the first people to sign my brother and I to get before WCW or ECW did. So we were eventually, Team Angle was supposed to be Kurt Angle, Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, and Russ Haas. Haas brothers, Shelton, and Kurt. It's supposed to be us 4. When Russ passed away, they went with Shelton and I as a tag team, but they had Arn Anderson. He probably trained us for a good year before the house shows, before the spot shows, on and off before television when we do the dark matches. And so we had Arn Anderson and we had Jerry Briscoe put their stamp of approval on us. They gave us their, what their vision of Team Angle was supposed to be, and we made it work. So thank you for Arn and Jerry And thank you for Kurt. I mean, that's what really set us off. But yeah, we were recruited by WWE right out of college, and it was supposed to be my brother and I, Shelton and Kurt.
And of course, everyone remembers Team Angle fondly. You guys were one of the main features of, I think it was SmackDown back in those days. What was it like working with such a legend in both amateur and pro wrestling?
It was a dream come true. I think what, working with Kurt, I mean, just being a fan of his when he won the Olympic golds, knowing him in college, but I think what really is when Shelton and I were wrestling against the Guerreros, Chris Benoit, Rhino, Edge, Rey Mysterio, Billy Kidman, being able to wrestle and being a main staple on SmackDown at the time with Team Angle, but to being able to wrestle those greats and to be able to perform at WrestleMania and all the major pay-per-views, it was a blessing. It was a dream come true. It was something that I was able to, me and my brother started this dream. We couldn't finish it together, but I was able to finish it in some way in his name.
Now, I remember back around 2005, I had a tryout, and I wrestled Shelton Benjamin just in an amateur match before a taping, just because he was working out with people that way. Is that something you would do too, wrestle amateur at WWE shows?
Yeah, that's what Shelton and I would always we would warm up together like that. Sometimes, I think it's happened maybe a couple times overseas. It would be Shelton, Brock, Kurt, and I. We'd do a round robin, and we'd wrestle that way, us four. And that would always be man, it would be all the talent would gather around to watch that. So that was like we'd put asses in seats doing an amateur round robin like that. But we always would. We always found that if we ever worked out amateur, that it helped our cardio when we did the professional. So it was always a good way to get our cardio in.
Were you surprised that Brock has gone on to become a UFC champion and gone back to wrestling, made huge money, possibly more than anyone else in wrestling, and now he's one of the hottest free agents in wrestling?
You know what? I'm not surprised one bit. Brock's a good friend of mine. Was a good friend of mine. We were able to travel the road, man. We drank beer. We listened to country music. Loved to fish. He's a good old country boy, and he's got kids around my kids' age. His boys around my son's ages, and I know they're playing hockey. They're up in Minnesota. I know they were up in Winnipeg, and I think they moved back. But no, it doesn't surprise me. Brock was he's a top-notch, he's a top-tier caliber athlete, one of the best in the world. Never seen one work so hard. And I mean, when I mean work, I mean to be like, whether it's on the treadmill, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's in the amateur room, whether it's in the octagon or on the wrestling mat, the kid would push himself. And when you push yourself like that, good things are going to happen to good people, and it happened to him.
Now, were you ever interested in jumping into MMA, looking at the success Brock had?
I would have at the time when I got out of college. I graduated college. UFC was not big at the time. WWE was, and WWE was having the Monday Night Wars. So, man, if you would have shifted it about 10 years later, maybe 5 to 6 years, different, maybe it would have been a different route. I would have got into the MMA, but I didn't. I stayed in WWE, and I stayed with with the pro wrestling, and I decided to go into coaching more than I did MMA. So I really went into coaching with amateur wrestling, giving back to the youth, pay it forward like I had people do for me.
There's two people that asked me to say hi to you, Rick Bassman and Rene Dupree. Yeah. Any thoughts on those two?
Rick Bassman's a great guy, man. I love Rick. I think he's out in Hawaii living. Great guy. And Rene Dupree, he was a roommate of mine out at Les Thatcher's place out at Heartland Wrestling, HWA, Heartland Wrestling Association. I miss Rene, man. I wish him nothing but the best, and I love Rick too. So if you do get a chance to talk to him, if they see this, thanks for everything, guys. I miss you, and I love you guys.
Did you ever wrestle La Resistance when you guys were in WWE?
Actually, yes, we did wrestle La Resistance. But it wasn't with Rene. It was with Sly, and it was with Rob Conway. Okay. And then we did go on to wrestle. Shelton and I did wrestle La Resistance. Fast forward, WWE was taken out of the picture. We were over in Europe wrestling, and we wrestled Sly and Rene Dupree, and it was over in France. And that was a hell of a program too.
And as far as your wrestling career now, are you going to try and actually maybe make it back into WWE like Shelton's returned? Or are you just going to be happy doing what you're doing and making appearances here and there?
You know what my goal is to pay it forward. If I could give any advice to anybody at work, anybody that wants to listen, if anyone that I'm on the same card with, if I could give you the advice that Arn Anderson, Steve Kern, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Jerry Briscoe, Jack Lanza, Pat Patterson, any of those greats that I had the chance. I had a 10-year career with WWE, but I had the ability or the chance to work with all those great agents, and they were able to give me a piece of the puzzle or what worked for them. If I could give anything and pay it forward to those that are trying to get to where I was or to be better than I ever was, which I want everyone to be, that's my goal. I mean, I'm not looking forward to getting in back, to AEW, to WWE, to TNA. I mean, I could probably say that ship sailed. If they ever do come calling, I would love to listen to them. But right now, my goal is to get the young people that want to get there. If I can give them advice and help them get there, then that's what I want to do. That's my job, is to help pay it forward.
As far as Pat Patterson, who you just mentioned, he just passed away last week. Do you have any memories that you could share with us about him?
Yeah, I remember talking to him about the match that he had with Sergeant Slaughter in Madison Square Garden, where it was him versus Sergeant Slaughter, a no referee match. And he told me that Vince came up to him and said, "Hey, can you do a match without a referee?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, that's not a problem." And when Vince walked away, he's like, "How am I going to do this?" He goes, "But they did it." And I always asked him about him and Ray the Crippler Stevens. Ray Stevens and him, people don't know, are probably the best tag team ever. If you could ever go back and watch anything on Ray Stevens and Pat Patterson, they were based out of San Francisco. They wrestled at the Cow Palace. I'm telling you right now, they were the best tag team ever. The stuff they would do, how good they were. I always asked them about how they dropped the knee off the top rope and how that did not destroy the other knee. And he said they did. He goes, "I don't know, we just did it." And that's all I could get from him, because I think that's a finish that no one's ever done since then. And instead of dropping an elbow off the top rope, they would drop a knee off the top rope, and the knee that they were coming down on, they didn't have any knee pads. So that was something that I would always, you can go back and watch, and I'm like, how did they do it? But they always would do it. But Pat Patterson, he would tell you if the match stunk. He would tell you if it was good. He's like, "I'm not going to bullshit you, because if I tell you did good when you did it, then how will you know you ever did good?" So that's like Pat Patterson stories.
And the rings were stiffer too. Now that you mention it, back in those days, they were similar to boxing rings. So that is crazy.
It is crazy. It was there's no plex. There's no give. The mat didn't go out in a wave. It was just I don't even think it was just 2x4 with carpet thrown over it. You're right.
What do you think about Dan Gable getting the Presidential Medal of Honor?
Well deserved. I have mixed feelings about Dan Gable. He kind of screwed my brother-in-law out of the '84 Olympics, but that's a different story. I'll have to get into some other time. But he's been a force in amateur wrestling. He's been there and for a lot. Do I think he's the greatest wrestler of all time? Absolutely not. Who is Kel Sanderson? Anyone that can go undefeated in high school and college, 233-0, and then go on to win the world and an Olympic gold medal, and then not only that, but then coach 9, and he's not even done yet. He's at Penn State, and he's coached nine teams to a national title. He will definitely break Dan Gable's record in coaching, but Kel Sanderson is the greatest amateur wrestler of all time.
What do you think about, I might get the name wrong, but I think it's Gable Stevenson or something out of Minnesota that they're saying could be the next Brock Lesnar?
No. Shelton's wrestled with Gable Stevenson. I heard his attitude is, I don't think he has the attitude for professional wrestling. He just doesn't. People don't understand what I mean. The people that work behind the scenes, people that are amateur wrestlers, they'll understand it. You got to come in humble. I don't think he will. Did he beat Kwidzinski? Yeah, he beat Quid. But you know what? There's a kid named AJ Ferrari from Oklahoma State. I think it's going to hand it to him. They're at a different weight class, but I'm telling you right now, AJ Ferrari's the real deal. He's going to hand Gable Stevenson his ass.
Everyone was pretty shocked when WWE released Gerald Briscoe earlier this year during the pandemic. It's not like he was hurting for money or anything, but he's done so much for that company. What were your feelings on that?
Well, I think everybody, a lot of people lost their jobs, not just to WWE, but, all around the world. A lot of furloughs, a lot of, this pandemic's really hit hard, and we're still feeling the effects of it. And right now, I'm just, I just hope my prayers and are out there to everyone that's lost their job. They're trying to support their family, trying to make child support, trying to make, ends meet, just trying to put, food on the table. It's been a tough year. I don't think we've seen anything like it. I feel bad for Jerry. And I hope things come around for everybody, for the business. And hopefully, they'll bring him back. So.
I don't know if you're familiar with Jerry's son, Wes, but he's wrestled a lot for our company in Canada. Why do you think they never gave Wes a good shot in WWE?
No, I don't know. Why did they give Steamboat's kid a good shot? I don't know. I think there's a time and place for everyone. I just think they haven't found the right place for him. Not that he couldn't work there. He's a hell of a worker. He definitely could be there. Look at AJ Styles, how long it took him to get there. And, Prince Devitt. I know they go by different names now, but just look how long it took them to get there, and they finally find a place and time. Samoa Joe, it took him a long time to get there. So I think as long as you keep trying, eventually you'll get there. No one should be able to, take that dream away from you. And I think if you keep pushing for it, eventually you'll get there. So,
do you have a favorite, both amateur and professional match?
Favorite amateur match was when I beat Grant Johnson, who was ranked 5th in the country. He's at Boston University. I beat him in order to go to qualify for the Nationals, which was held in Iowa that year. And that was the first time Seton Hall won the Big East title. And that was because it came down to my match and his. And I beat him 9-3. And he was ranked 5th in the country, and I didn't have a shot, but I ended up beating him, and we won the Big East title. Favorite pro match was when Shelton and I captured our first WWE tag titles.
And as far as your social media, if people want to look you up and follow you on there, do you have any?
I don't have. You know what? I used to, but when people were going out there, I went on Facebook and I had 9 people saying they were me, and when I had pictures of my kids that I didn't even have, like from them at their soccer games, taking pictures of my daughters playing soccer, putting it on their social media. That's when I took everything back. So should I start it back up? Yeah. Am I cautious and conscientious about? Yeah, because it scares me, especially when you have kids. You get people that show up and and just start taking pictures when they really have no right to. And when they start to invade that type of privacy, that's when I kind of withheld from it. So.
Any advice out there for amateur wrestlers?
Yeah, amateur wrestling is it's the Marine of all college athletics, the Marine of all athletics. It's very hard. I got to tell you that it's technique, man. It's technique, it's repetition. I have two mottos, I say. Consistency. Consistency is the mark of a champion. 2, little things. Little things make a big difference. Don't forget the little things. Never look for the shortcut. Little things make the big difference, and be consistent in your work. Be consistent in what you do every day when you get in the room, whether it's stretching, your technique, be a good partner, and you give 110%, and you can't be denied. Consistency is the mark of a champion, and little things make a big difference. That's what I live by.
And pro wrestling's a little different, but any advice for pro wrestlers that are going to be watching this?
Pro wrestling, it's the same thing. It's consistency. How bad do you want it? Get up, you work out, you tan, you hit the gym, you watch tapes. It's not much more than amateur wrestling. Now, can you go out and do everything consistently? No, you can't, because there's only so many bumps on your bump card, okay? But you can watch and study tapes, see what the people that got there, how they got there, what they did, and then make it your own. So consistency is the mark of a champion, I think. And with the pro wrestling, never, ever, ever look for a shortcut. That's when you get hurt. Watch your footwork. If you're going, Arnie Anderson told me this, if you're going too slow, that's the right speed. If you're going too slow in the ring, that's the right speed. Remember that.
Now, I heard Kevin Sullivan say on his podcast a couple weeks ago that you might be one of the smoothest wrestlers he's ever seen in the ring. Any tips on that?
That's probably because it took me about 20 some odd years to get there. I think, when you're 5 years in the business, you're like, man, I wish I would have known what I did 5 years ago. When you get to 10 years in the business, you're like, man, I wish I would have known what I was 5 years ago, and so on. You know what? I think it's at the point where I've just let go. I'm just having fun. I realize that I'm just trying to pay it forward, man. And I really have lived by, if I'm going too slow, that's the right speed. And less is more. You don't need to throw a bunch of punches. Hurts like hell, looks like crap. You don't need that, man. One good punch, one good kick, man. As long as it connects and it looks real, that's all you need. That's all you need.
I'm gonna guess no one ever tried to shoot on you in a match.
No one has. So, and you know what? But I think I've been professional enough, and I think I've not where I haven't come down to where I've just punked somebody out, because I wouldn't want them to do that to me when I started. So, but I think it's a mutual respect. You got to respect the person you're in there with always.
It's safe to say probably Bradshaw didn't try and bully you.
No, Bradshaw never bullied me, or either did Bob Holly. So no.
Well, it's been a pleasure and honor talking to you. I got a lot of respect for you. Any final message for the fans here?
Man, you know what? SWE is. I'm very blessed for them to, take interest and bring me back. And like I said, man, look for SWE to be a stable, a main staple in pro wrestling. I'm telling you right now. They're a force to be reckoned with, man. And I think this is the most exciting time right now for pro wrestling, because you got so many different stations out there that are streaming wrestling, and you got a chance to go watch on Pluto. You got a chance to watch on Netflix. You got to watch on what else you got? You got Hulu. There's so many different stations out there to watch pro wrestling. It's a great time to be a fan, but also to be a wrestler.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.